My child, pause and listen with your full presence, because you have just crossed a threshold that you may not yet recognize. I am not calling you with an urgency meant to frighten you, nor am I placing a time limit before you to force you to believe. I simply want you to step away for a moment from the noise pulling your mind in every direction. Take a deep breath and look back at what has happened during the past several days. A change is quietly taking shape within you. It did not come with thunder or cause everyone around you to notice immediately, but it has changed the way you respond to what once could easily bring you down. You thought you were merely trying to survive another difficult day, but on that very day, you chose not to return to the old path. You thought you were remaining silent, only to avoid an argument. But that silence proved that your wound no longer possessed complete control over your words. What you have just completed is not an achievement to boast about, but a quiet step of maturity that has changed the direction of the days ahead. I saw you remain standing throughout the season of waiting, when almost every outward sign tried to convince you that your hope had become meaningless. You had more than enough reasons to surrender. Some people told you to stop expecting anything. Certain circumstances made you believe you had already wasted too much time. And on some nights, even you were uncertain whether you possessed enough strength to take another step. Yet even while your heart was weary, you did not completely abandon what was good. You may have cried, doubted, and rested beside the road for a time, but you did not return to the person who once destroyed themselves because of disappointment. That is what matters. Strength does not always look like someone who never trembles. Often, strength is continuing to walk even while your knees are shaking, preserving integrity even when no one can promise that tomorrow will become easier. I want you to know that victories such as these are not overlooked. Heaven does not see only the great actions celebrated by crowds. Quiet decisions made when no one is watching often reveal your true character most clearly. When you choose not to send words you would later regret, when you refuse to return to a connection that once drained you, and when you continue fulfilling your responsibilities even when your emotions no longer support you, you are building a new foundation. There may be no applause, but your character is being strengthened. No one may place a medal in your hands, but you have proven to yourself that old patterns no longer possess the same power. Breakthrough begins there, not merely when an outward door opens, but when you stop betraying your peace in exchange for what is familiar. Perhaps you are waiting for a very great sign to confirm that a new season has begun. You want a clear event, an unmistakable opportunity, or a transformation powerful enough for everyone to see. But beloved child, before such things appear, change usually begins within the way you choose. You begin to feel less attracted to what once easily pulled you away from your direction. You no longer want to explain yourself to those who are merely searching for reasons to judge you. You know how to pause before reacting, observe before giving your trust, and walk away without needing to wound anyone. These things may appear very small, but they reveal that you are ready to enter greater responsibility without carrying all the chaos of the past with you. I do not want you to declare your readiness only through a sentence written in an emotional moment. Declare it through the way you live. Say that you welcome the new season by clearing away what has completed its purpose. Say that you trust by doing the work before you well, even when no one notices. Say that you are ready by caring for your health, managing your time, keeping your promises, and no longer granting access to people who continually disrespect your boundaries. A declaration may ignite emotion for several minutes, but only a choice, repeated every day, can truly change a life. You once looked at closed doors as evidence that you had not been chosen, but now see them with clearer eyes. Some doors closed because nothing behind them could give you what you truly needed. Certain delays gave you additional time to develop skills, heal wounds, or recognize the true intentions of those standing nearby. Some opportunities, had they arrived earlier, would have found you entering through impatience, compromising too easily, and losing yourself in order to be accepted. I do not call every loss good, but I can use what happened to lead you into wisdom. What wounded you does not have the right to return endlessly, but its lesson must remain so that you do not enter the same door again under a different name. Remember that before a person is entrusted with something greater, they must learn to preserve what is small. This is not because I doubt you, but because what is precious must be placed in hands that know how to value it. Someone who has not learned how to manage emotions may destroy the relationship they once prayed for. Someone who has not learned to handle money wisely may turn abundance into a burden. Someone still dependent upon praise may lose direction when given influence. Therefore, the seasons that appeared empty were teaching you faithfulness, self-control, and the ability to stand without needing a crowd's approval. You were not only being prepared to receive, you were being prepared to preserve. Images of the future may have appeared within you from an early time. You sensed that your life could carry greater meaning, yet you did not understand which path would lead there. Then, instead of walking directly toward that vision, you encountered betrayal, disappointment, low places, and seasons of being underestimated. You wondered whether that deep inner desire was merely imagination. Yet often, the vision of the destination is given first, while the character required to remain there must be built over time. You had to learn not to use authority for revenge, not to allow success to make you forget those who suffer, and not to turn blessing into a throne for pride. Something great requires more than talent. It requires a softened heart and a discerning mind. I saw the times when you preserved faith while the reality before you said the opposite. Yet genuine faith does not mean denying difficulty or sitting still while waiting for everything to change by itself. Faith causes you to continue doing your part with integrity. It helps you make plans before you can see sufficient resources. Continue learning before an opportunity appears, and prepare while the door remains closed. It teaches you that delay is not permission to live carelessly. If you believe a new season is approaching, live as someone preparing to welcome it. Complete what remains unfinished. Bring order to what has become disorganized. Learn what you need to know, and release what cannot travel farther with you. Do not fear that you have lost too much time. Years of waiting are not entirely wasted when they create maturity within you. You are no longer someone easily led away by a beautiful promise. You have learned to ask about the foundation, observe actions, and recognize the difference between peace and temporary excitement. You no longer see every departure as failure. You understand that some people are permitted to accompany you for only one part of the road, and their inability to continue does not diminish the value of the journey. This discernment will help you enter what is new without carrying the same innocence that once left you vulnerable to harm. I also want you to understand that there is no urgent list requiring you to live in panic, as though every blessing will disappear if you fail to react quickly enough. What is meant for you does not need to be preserved through fear. I do not urge you to rush into every opportunity or believe every declaration merely because it is wrapped in mystery. Remain alert. When a door opens, test it through truth, integrity, and peace. When an invitation comes, see whether it respects your boundaries and the values you are building. What is right may require courage, but it will not force you to abandon wisdom. Genuine guidance is not afraid of your questions. My child, your breakthrough began in the place no one could see, in the way you stopped returning to what once caused you to collapse. Outward results may need time to catch up with inward transformation. But do not deny the work simply because you cannot yet see those results. Roots make no sound as they grow deeply into the ground. Yet, they determine whether the tree will remain standing when the wind arrives. You are becoming rooted in wisdom, perseverance, and self-respect. Therefore, when the season of rising comes, you will not ascend through impulse, but on wings strengthened during the days when you continued, despite having no guarantee of the outcome. Now, lift your head and continue forward calmly. You do not need to prove that you are chosen by imagining yourself above others. The evidence is found in the way you live humbly, truthfully, and responsibly. Let your kindness have boundaries, your strength retain gentleness, and your faith be accompanied by wise action. Closed doors will no longer shame you. Delays will no longer cause you to call yourself a failure. They have become part of the process that is making you mature enough for what is approaching. You remained standing where you once might have fallen. You chose trust when fear wanted you to return. You did not allow one difficult day to erase the entire journey. This is evidence that you are more prepared than you were yesterday. Continue protecting what is being formed through faithfulness in small things. I will not allow you to walk alone. I will remind you when you need to slow down, strengthen you when you become weary, and illuminate your steps when the road ahead is unclear. Breakthrough is no longer only something you are waiting for. It is being built through every decision you make from this day forward. Some people might have collapsed beneath the weight you once carried, but you remained, continued moving, and that quiet endurance is creating a meaning you cannot yet see completely. I am not saying you never wanted to escape or never wished someone would come and remove you from those circumstances. I heard the prayers you could not speak aloud. I saw the nights when you wished that everything would be different by morning. Yet when rescue did not appear in the form you expected, you still found enough strength to rise. You thought you were merely trying to survive one more day. But within those very days, a foundation difficult to shake was being built inside you. The Father's presence was not standing far away and observing your pain. He was near in every breath you struggled to keep steady, in every decision not to let despair have the final word, and in every moment when you still chose what was right, even though no one saw, when you felt hidden from the eyes of others. You had not been forgotten. A mark was being formed upon your journey. Not the mark of injury, but the mark of someone who learned to stand under pressure. This did not begin yesterday. It continued through many months, through a season in which you slowly became unfamiliar to the version of yourself you once knew. You spoke less, became more cautious, and stopped giving trust as easily as before. There were days when you looked into the mirror and wondered what had happened to your former brightness. But, beloved child, you did not disappear. The parts of you dependent upon approval, the habits of waiting for others to confirm your value, and the beliefs that told you safety existed only when someone remained beside you were gradually being removed. This was the crossing point where the former person could no longer continue, while the new person was still being formed in silence. At first, the change was so subtle that you believed you were overthinking. People who had once been very close began moving away without offering a clear explanation. Conversations that once lasted a long time became brief. Messages that had once received immediate responses began sitting unanswered. Some people who sought you whenever they needed to be heard became strangely busy when you needed someone upon whom to lean. You watched the distance grow and repeatedly asked what you had done wrong. You reviewed every sentence and action, searching for a mistake that might explain why the closeness had become cold. But not every separation occurs because you have done something wrong. Some relationships can exist only while you remain the giver, the understanding one, and the person always willing to put your own needs aside. I know the wound became deeper because it did not come through a clear ending. There was no final conversation allowing you to close the chapter. Only prolonged distance that caused you to continue, hoping everything would return to what it had been. You waited for a message, a call, or some sign that you still mattered. Every time your phone lit up, you thought perhaps they had remembered you, only to feel disappointed when it was not them. Their silence caused you to question your own perception. You blamed yourself for being too sensitive, needing too much attention, or expecting too much. But I want you to stop denying what you felt. A genuine separation occurred. Those who could walk beside you during one season no longer possessed the ability or willingness to remain present in the next. That truth is painful, but it does not mean you are unworthy of love. Then the crisis arrived at a time when you had no opportunity to prepare. Perhaps it involved finances, a loss, a shock within the family, or an event that caused everything you had tried to keep normal to fall apart. Instinctively, you reached towards someone you had always trusted to answer. You did not need them to solve everything. You only wanted to hear a familiar voice and be reminded that you were not facing it alone. But when the call connected, you recognized that something had changed. They did not directly refuse you, but their voice became cold. Their attention moved away, and your pain seemed like a minor interruption in their day. You shortened the story, tried to make your problems sound smaller, and even apologized for calling at an inconvenient time. When the conversation ended, you were not strengthened. You felt emptier than before. The greatest pain did not come only from the circumstances you were facing, but from realizing that the place you had trusted as support was no longer present when you truly needed it. You tried again with someone else, and then once more. Each response took a different form, yet each led to the same emptiness. One person said they were busy. Another promised to contact you later. Someone offered a little sympathy before quickly returning to their own life. You waited for that later to become a call, a visit, or at least one sincere question. But it never came. Gradually, you stopped calling. This was not because the problem had disappeared, but because you no longer wanted to endure the feeling that you were disturbing those who had once declared that they would always be there. Eventually, a cold truth passed through you. No one was coming to carry this part on your behalf. In that moment, the entire room seemed to become silent. Fear rose because you had become accustomed to believing that whenever life exceeded your capacity, someone stronger would appear and lead you out. But this time, you had to stand before your own life without the familiar bridge upon which you once depended. I know the feeling nearly suffocated you. Yet at the moment, when you realized that you could no longer keep waiting, another strength began to awaken. You stopped asking who would rescue you and began asking what small step you could take that day. You addressed one problem at a time, sought help in healthier places, learned matters you had always entrusted to others, and gradually discovered that you were not as helpless as you once believed. That road was not intended to teach you that you need no one or that everyone is untrustworthy. I do not want you to turn disappointment into a vow never to open your heart again. Human beings were created to love, support, and accompany one another. But you must distinguish genuine support from dependence that causes you to surrender all your strength to another person. Some people will enter your life with the ability to remain, but they have not been assigned to live your life for you. Maturity begins when you learn to receive help while still standing on your own feet. Love, without placing your future entirely into someone else's hands. And value another person's presence without allowing their absence to destroy all the peace within you. Now you can understand why part of that road had to be walked alone. If people had always appeared whenever you called, you might never have discovered the strength placed within you. If every hand had supported you before you reached your limits, you might have continued believing that you were incapable of overcoming any challenge. Their absence was not something I called good, but I used that emptiness to teach you how to stand. Listen to yourself, and stop viewing yourself as someone who always needed to be rescued. You passed through a place you once believed you could never survive alone. Yet you are still here, not the same as before, but far deeper, wiser, and steadier. What is being formed after that quiet victory will not be small. First, you will no longer give your closeness to anyone merely because they speak beautifully. You will observe who is truly present when circumstances become difficult, who can listen without treating your pain as a burden, and who wants to remain close only while you are strong, useful, or joyful. You will also become someone who knows how to support others without making promises you cannot keep, because you understand how painful it is when later never becomes reality. You will learn to speak honestly, act clearly, and refuse to leave anyone hanging their hope upon your empty words. Therefore, do not see that lonely season as evidence that you are unworthy of love. It exposed relationships that were not deep enough to accompany you through adversity, while also revealing the strength you had always sought outside yourself. What is coming, because you refuse to surrender, is still moving quietly. You cannot yet see the complete result, but you already carry what matters most, the understanding that whether others appear or not, you can still move forward with guidance, wisdom, and courage. You are no longer standing motionless while waiting for rescue. You are the person who learned how to open the door, step out, and walk through darkness with a light kindled during the days when no one came. This is why the road had to be so private, so that when the new season opens, you will not enter it desperately searching for support, but as someone who knows their value, strength, and direction. You have just passed through a quiet test without recognizing it, and the most precious thing revealed was not perfection, but the faithfulness you preserved while everything around you appeared to oppose hope. Every closed door placed a question before you. Would you allow rejection to define you? Or would you continue believing that your road had not ended? Every season of delay tested the depth of your patience. Would you complain because you could not yet see results? Or continue caring for the small thing already in your hands? Each time you kept your words pure instead of allowing bitterness to pour out. And each time you turned your heart toward me instead of nourishing despair. Another part within you became stronger. I saw everything. I saw the days when you rose, even though you no longer felt strong. The nights when you prayed through a few broken words. And the moments when you continued believing without any evidence except the very small peace that remained within your heart. You overcame not because you never wavered, but because after every moment of wavering, you returned to the right direction. Some people left when you needed them most. Certain plans collapsed just before they seemed ready to succeed. There were seasons when you walked in silence without receiving any confirmation. Many times, you thought you were being left behind. But in truth, you were being separated from the need to see immediate results before you could continue. I taught you a faith that does not depend upon emotion. Live on applause, or disappear when circumstances change their appearance. When others gave up because they could see no exit, you remained with the work before you. When fear told you to close your heart, you still preserved a place for hope. This is what has made you more trustworthy for the greater responsibilities approaching. A new movement is now beginning. But do not imagine heaven as a place that responds only when you have earned enough points. I do not love you more because you endured well. Nor do I see you as a name, waiting for its turn to receive attention. What has been activated is not unstable favoritism, but your own growing ability to receive. The prayers you believed merely returned to the room will now reveal their answers through more practical roads, a timely relationship, a clear idea, a door opening after months of preparation, or the courage finally to close what has been pulling you down. I have forgotten no request spoken sincerely. But sometimes the answer had to wait until you became steady enough to receive it without losing your balance. You have become a matter of urgency, not because heaven is panicking over your circumstances, but because the time has come for what was cultivated quietly to begin producing results. I have arranged shifts that you cannot yet see completely. Certain delays are being loosened. Some roads that were once unclear will gradually appear. What you learned during scarcity will become wisdom for managing abundance. The wounds you healed will help you recognize the difference between a healthy opportunity and a trap covered in glamour. I am not merely bringing something new. I am also making you wise enough not to repeat old choices when the new arrives. I know your faith was once surrounded by many voices. One said, you were too late. Another reminded you that others had gone farther. Another used past failures to persuade you that every future effort would end in the same way. Yet, you continued speaking life during days filled with darkness. You continued planting good words while your own heart was hurting. You continued believing that a door could open even while you saw only walls. This is rare, not because you never doubted, but because you refused to let doubt become your commander. You learned to look at fear without kneeling before it. See an obstacle without calling it the final conclusion. And experience delay without interpreting it as proof of rejection. Now, I want you to understand who you are, with deep humility. You carry the grace of someone once underestimated who refused to allow judgment to steal dignity. You carry the strength of someone considered to have no future, who continued preparing in silence. You carry the gentleness of someone who heard many human refusals yet preserved the ability to believe that another road remained possible. You are not an afterthought. Your presence has purpose. Your abilities have a place where they can be used. And the fact that your experiences differ from those of others does not mean you were placed incorrectly. There are environments in which you could not fit because they required you to diminish the goodness entrusted to you. There are groups incapable of understanding your depth because they wanted a version of you that was easier to control. This difference does not make you superior, but it reminds you to live responsibly with your unique calling. A new measure of authority is also opening within you, but you must understand it correctly so that it does not become pride. Authority is not found in speaking louder, issuing more commands, or declaring that everything must change according to your wishes. It is found in the consistency between your words and your life. When you speak of hope after walking through despair, your words possess the ability to strengthen. When you speak of boundaries after years of being exploited, your words can release others from guilt. When you speak of peace from the very place where chaos once ruled, your presence can calm an entire room. This is genuine weight. It does not force, display itself, or frighten others, but helps them see more clearly and stand more firmly. Therefore, from this day forward, you must become more careful with your words. Do not use sensitivity to condemn. Do not call every feeling a divine command. Do not turn personal pain into a prophecy about others. Before you speak, allow your heart to be cleansed of anger. Before making a declaration, test it through truth, compassion, and long-term fruit. A word carrying healthy authority does not make the vulnerable more afraid. It brings clarity. It does not manipulate listeners, but restores their ability to choose wisely. When you speak from peace, you will not need many words for others to recognize sincerity. I did not give you a voice so that you could construct an image of being special. I gave it to you so that you could build people. What surrounds you will begin responding differently as you operate from this new identity. This is not because every circumstance will be forced to obey your desires, but because you no longer react in the same way. Provocations that once easily stole your peace will no longer possess that power. Relationships that once held you through guilt will need to change or leave when you establish boundaries. Unhealthy opportunities will lose their attraction when you know your value. An atmosphere truly shifts when you enter it without panic. The need for recognition, or the desire to control, your calmness, integrity, and courage will become a stronger answer than every loud declaration.